We are going to just touch a little bit on teleaudiology. A lot of people have had questions about this or called me about this. And so we're just going to do a short summary. Next. Okay, so there are 4 types of teleaudiology, and we're going to talk mostly about 2 of them. Next slide. The first one is synchronous teleaudiology, and that's when we're just going to say when there's an audiologist in one place and there is a technician in another place, and it's kind of a face-to-face, kind of like we're doing right now, just on Zoom. We can talk, and I can run screens. Next slide. All right. So for synchronous teleaudiology, what we need to have an audiologist in one place and a trained technician, or just a teacher on the other side with the patient. It's really important. Valin, who I think she had to check out and go to an IEP, we found that we need a really, really high-speed internet connection to make sure that this works, and reliable power, and the right equipment. Okay, next. So some of the things that we've been hearing about in the world, or out in the world, is they're actually doing teleaudiometry right now, where they have a program where you can actually put headphones on and you can touch a button on your iPad or your phone to say whether you hear a tone or not, and they're actually doing hearing tests that way. There's a lot of reliability issues with that, especially with pediatrics, and so we are not doing that at USDB right now. They say that there's about a 10 decibel standard deviation from threshold with that, and if you're not using calibrated equipment, it's really hard to get an accurate result. Hearing aid fittings. People are now with when COVID came and a lot of people didn't want to go to the audiologist, people started to order hearing aids online and have them remotely programmed by an audiologist, and then they would just mail them to them in the mail and then work with them online. Same thing with reprogramming and counseling. We can do live reprogramming and counseling. And the new thing that's really kind of interesting is video otoscopy. So they have these really cool little video cameras that you can actually buy on Amazon for about $15. And you can actually put it in your ear and see your eardrum, and take a picture, hard picture, or do it live with somebody online. So that's kind of what's coming up in the world. Okay, next. Right now in Utah, so they have teleaudiometry ABRs, which is really, really cool, especially for Utah right now. We have a clinic in Monument Valley who is working with EDHI to do tele-ABRs, where they actually take the baby to the hospital. A nurse connects the baby with electrodes, and I don't know if they're doing sedation or not. Maybe Joni, you might know the answer to that question. But an audiologist remotes into their computer and actually does the ABR over the internet. And that's really, really amazing, because in that area, it's just been extremely hard to get families up to Salt Lake. So, and I don't know if EDHI has got a contract with any other hospitals in rural Utah right now. Next. Hearing aid fitting. Like we said before, providers can either mail or have hearing aids delivered that they can program them from their office. It's really important to note, and I'm going to say this probably 5 times just so we remember, that the audiologist has to program them on a home-based software before they can control the hearing aids remotely. That means if somebody else, so like for our kids, if their primary audiologist was Sarah, who was just here before, fits a pair of hearing aids, they come back down to St. George, or they go to Vernal. We cannot program those hearing aids from St. George. We have got to go through Sarah. And so she's the only one that has access to that, the primary fit audiologist. Okay, next. We can do a lot of, well, with the reprogramming and counseling, a lot of companies are doing that just online now. So even companies that are having the initial visit in the office and initial fitting in the office are doing their counseling and reprogramming remotely. Okay, next. And this is just a picture, kind of like the otoscopy, video otoscopy picture. People are, buying the little cameras and then sending the pictures of the eardrum to the audiologist or ENT. Okay, next. All right. So those things were the things that are happening like globally as we're moving forward, and you're probably going to hear about them. This is what we're doing currently at USDB. We're actually doing trainings for school hearing screenings. So if an SLP has an audiometer and she doesn't know how to use it, we can get online and train them how to use the audiometer online. Or if they have a really difficult kid that's hard to test, I will walk an SLP through the process of getting in for more information from the student over the internet. We loaner hearing aids. We can program those. So for example, we've got a student that loses their hearing aids on a regular basis. So I left an extra pair of hearing aids for her in class. She didn't lose her hearing aids, but another child did. So I was able to remotely program the hearing aids that I had in that office for one child for the other child. And they were able to fit those on him. And troubleshooting and counseling. So if a student's having trouble with, we're changing ear mold, tubing, if the hearing aid's not working, if Adam's trying to take the battery door off a broken hearing aid, those different things, we can do a lot of that. If kids are having a difficulty wearing their hearing aids and not wanting to wear their hearing aids in class, the teachers can get on a Zoom conference with me and the student, and we can talk about different ways to work with that child with me on the video Zoom. Okay, next. Oh, I just went through the whole thing pretty much. With, again, we just can train audiometer or people to use audiometers and OAEs and tympanometers. Next. Remote hearing aid adjustments for non-first fit hearing aids. I forgot that I wasn't pushing my button. If you're interested in proxy programming or wanting to program your kids' hearing equipment, that's something that we're doing. Lynn and I have done this several times. We ordered equipment for her so she's able to actually hardwire connect or connect to the hearing aids. And then I drive the computer with her and the child and the hearing aids in a different place. And that's, we're working on that. You have to have the right programming equipment and a good internet connection and the right software. But if you're interested in that, that's a whole entire class by itself. And we can work on that and teach you that. Okay, next. Again, if one of your student needs a loaner hearing aid, we can send the hearing aid to you and then have you download a phone app, and we can adjust the hearing aid with the phone app. So for example, Heidi has a student in Vernal, and she says, okay, I think I need a hearing aid. I can program it on my computer, and because I'm the first fit audiologist, I would be able to access and change and fit that hearing aid remotely for that student. Okay, next. And she could have the phone app with that one. We do a lot of hearing aid new fit. remote. So if a student is having, again, complaining about something being wrong with the hearing aid, the way they don't like it, they don't like the way it sounds, if I fit the hearing aid, I can reprogram it. I can Zoom teach with parents on how to use the app. So they have these really cool downloadable apps on your phone now that you can control the hearing aids with, and a lot of times I'm on the phone or on Zoom calls with parents showing them how to use that app, how to change domes or filters or tubing, anything like that. Working with people on insertion, parents especially. It's like, I can't get the hearing aid in, it's, it's feeding back, this isn't working. We can get on a Zoom and do that. Like button manipulations and difficulties, things like that. And instructions on how to use their listening devices and FM devices. A lot of times teachers will get on a Zoom call with me with their touchscreen mics and ask me, to go through again, because it's really hard to learn everything the first time you hear it, especially if you're in a noisy classroom. And we can re-instruct on Zoom that way. Okay, next.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Is this some special software that you have that you're able to program away from the kids, or is this something that all district audiologists would have access to? Do they have to pay for it?
Okay, so there's two different ways. Is it, who's talking?
Sorry, it's Allison.
Hi, Allison. So there's two different ways that we can do this, or that we've been doing this. One is to actually have the teacher outreach teacher have a NOAA link and a NOAA Hypro box and NOAA software, and they have access to that, and they can actually connect the kids to the hearing aids directly, and then I can control her computer and do that type of programming. And we do that with at least one of my remote teachers. Now, if I fit the hearing aids and I do the first fit on a pair of hearing aids, then I can actually do that through Oticon or Phonak. Both have something called a remote care, and I can actually change the settings on the hearing aid through the computer, or with a phone app that they download and connect to the Bluetooth to connect to the child's hearing aids. And we do that with parents' permission only, of course.
So our audiologist doesn't have the capability of ordering hearing aids or molds or anything like that anymore. Okay. So that would not be a capability that we could do as a district?
No, not if they don't have access to that kind of software, no.
Well, they have access to the software, but they don't have access to order the hearing aids. But you're saying if you're not the first one to fit them. Yeah,
if right now, at this point in time, if you're not the first person to fit them, you don't have access to change them.
Okay.
Unless you have somebody else there that has Hypro box or a NOAA link, something that can directly connect to the hearing aids. Okay. So right now, there's also a new thing going around. It's called asynchronous teleaudiology. So they're having in the real world, a lot of techs go out to people's houses and do hearing tests at home. And then they just email the results to an audiologist, who then reads the results and then prescribes the hearing aid. And then the tech goes back out and fits the hearing aids. Pretty much the only thing USDB is doing we don't do that very much. We don't do that. Okay, next. So again, what's coming is new video otoscopy, scan tympanograms, audiograms, everything that can be obtained by technicians, online hearing tests that are then reviewed by audiologists, and then the hearing aids are sent to the person in need. So one of the really interesting things is they have just made hearing aids non-prescribable, or you don't have to have a prescription to buy hearing aids anymore. You can just buy them from the store or anywhere else. So this new asynchronous teleaudiology is becoming really popular, and you're going to see a lot more people talk about that. We try to encourage parents to stay away from that for pediatrics, just because we don't have very good test results so far for that. Okay, next. The only type of asynchronous teleaudiology we do is school screenings. They can send us a picture of the information they've got as far as tympanograms, OAEs, audiograms, and then we look at them and tell them, just tell them what we think, or tell them what we think is going on. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the summary. So US audiologists or USDB audiologists can train people to use audiological equipment, program or adjust loaner hearing aids remotely. If an outreach teacher has the programming software and equipment, troubleshoot PADs, troubleshoot hearing aid malfunctions, and review screening or other audiological tests. What we can't do at this time is remote hearing testing, remote ABRs, unless we have a trained technician on the other end, remote hearing screenings, or program or adjust hearing aids not fit by USDB. Okay, that was fast. Any questions? Oh, this is really cool. So we were talking about this earlier about the apps for adjusting the hearing aids. So some of my teachers have actually got permission from the parents to be the person in charge of the app for the student. We've got a couple of kids that have really bad sensory issues. And so when it comes to lunchtime and other auditorium time, the teacher can actually use the phone to turn down the hearing aids. When parents ask, they have these really cool things. If you can find your lost hearing aids with the app, that's really wonderful. And we can use them to connect to personal amplification devices. Okay, next. Did I put anything else in here? Nope, that's it. Any questions?
I think we like it. Mikey likes it. Thank you, Stephanie.
You are welcome.